Welcome to Black Screen Bright Ideas Podcast, the channel where we improve a little bit every day. Today we're diving deep into the recurring life advice of Jordan Peterson, pulling wisdom from several of his speeches.
Oh, yeah. It's like we're creating this concentrated dose of Peterson's insights, seeing how these seemingly separate pieces of advice actually fit together to form a cohesive whole.
Okay, let's unpack this. One of the themes that really struck me is Peterson's emphasis on tackling purposeful problems. It's not just about avoiding difficulty, but about actively seeking out the right kind of challenges. What do you make of that?
It's fascinating, isn't it? This idea that it goes beyond just finding a reason to get out of bed. Peterson suggests those meaningful struggles actually help us build character. Think about it. When you overcome a challenge that aligns with your values, it reinforces those values and strengthens your sense of self. It's like he says, the more of that you take on, the more you have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. That gives you that sense of purpose that is the antidote to bitterness.
Right? It's not about seeking out suffering for its own sake, but about recognizing that certain types of challenges are essential for growth.
Exactly. And it's not just about external achievements. Peterson also talks about the importance of self-comparison, but not in the way we usually think about it. Instead of measuring ourselves against others, which can lead to envy and a distorted view of reality, he suggests comparing ourselves to who we were yesterday.
That's a game changer. It shifts the focus from external validation to internal progress. But how do we make sure we're actually improving and not just telling ourselves we are?
That's where honesty comes in, and not just honesty with ourselves, but also with others. Peterson is a big advocate for living a truthful life, and I think it's key here. If we're constantly comparing ourselves to others and trying to project an image that isn't genuine, we're not only undermining our relationships, but also obscuring our own path to improvement.
Makes you think about how much energy we waste trying to maintain a facade instead of focusing on genuine growth.
Right. And when we're honest with ourselves about where we are, we can start making those small, incremental improvements that Peterson talks about. Remember, he says, compare yourself to who you were yesterday and not to who someone else is today. That's a game you can win.
So it's about focusing on those daily wins, those small steps forward that build momentum over time.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that lasting change doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of consistent effort and self-reflection.
And speaking of self-reflection, Peterson also talks about the importance of understanding our strengths and finding our niche. What does he mean by that?
He emphasizes the importance of recognizing your intellectual capabilities and finding a career path where you can thrive. It's not just about being smart, but about finding the right environment for your particular skill set.
He actually suggests aiming to be in the upper quartile of intelligence within your chosen field, right? Not the smartest, but not the least intelligent either. That's an interesting perspective.
It is, isn't it? He believes that finding that sweet spot where you're challenged but not overwhelmed is crucial for both professional success and personal well-being. If you're constantly the most intelligent person in the room, you might not be stretching yourself enough. You might not be learning and growing at the rate you could be.
But isn't there a risk of becoming complacent if you're not surrounded by people who are intellectually stimulating?
That's a valid point. And I think Peterson would say that it's about finding the right balance. You want to be challenged, but you also want to feel like you're contributing meaningfully. It's about finding that environment where you can both learn and teach, where you can push yourself while also supporting others.
So it's about recognizing your strengths, finding your niche, and then constantly seeking out opportunities for growth within that space.
Exactly. It's about embracing a growth mindset, about recognizing that learning is a lifelong process, and that true fulfillment comes from constantly pushing ourselves to become the best version of ourselves.
So we've got this foundation of physical and mental well-being. Where do we go from there? What are some of the tools Peterson offers for actually building that meaningful life?
Well, he talks a lot about the power of sacrifice. And when he says sacrifice, he's not talking about some grand dramatic gesture. He's talking about the everyday choices we make to delay gratification for something bigger, something more meaningful in the long run.
It sounds a bit like that famous marshmallow experiment, where kids could either eat one marshmallow right away or wait and get two.
Yeah, it's similar. And Peterson connects this capacity for delayed gratification to what makes us uniquely human. It's what allows us to build civilizations, create art, achieve scientific breakthroughs, all those things that require sustained effort and a willingness to forego immediate pleasure for future gains.
But let's be honest, delaying gratification isn't always easy. We live in a world of instant gratification, surrounded by temptations to choose the easy, pleasurable option. How do we resist that?
I think it starts with having a clear vision of what you're sacrificing for. What are those long-term goals that are worth giving up that extra slice of cake or that mindless scrolling session? And it's not just about willpower. It's about creating systems and environments that support your goals. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, who share your values, who encourage you to make those tough choices.
That makes me think about the importance of choosing your friends wisely.
Absolutely. The people we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on our choices and behaviors. And it's not just about having friends who are good or successful. It's about finding people who challenge you to grow, who support your aspirations, and who hold you accountable to your own values.
Okay, so we're making sacrifices. We're surrounding ourselves with the right people. We're working towards our goals. But what happens when things don't go according to plan? What happens when we hit those inevitable roadblocks and setbacks?
This is where Peterson's advice on embracing the imperfect plan comes in. He encourages us to have a vision, to set goals, but to also be flexible and adaptable when things inevitably go awry. Life is messy and unpredictable, and clinging rigidly to our initial plan can actually hinder our progress.
So it's about being open to detours, to learning from mistakes, to adjusting our course based on new information and experiences.
Exactly. And this ties into Peterson's emphasis on iteration. He often uses the analogy of writing an essay. You don't just sit down and crank out a perfect final draft. You brainstorm, you outline, you write a first draft, you revise, you edit. It's a process of continuous refinement.
So it's about applying that same iterative process to our lives.
Yes, and that's where the real learning happens. It's in those moments of trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again that we develop resilience, creativity, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
It's about embracing the journey, not just focusing on the destination.
Precisely. And it's in those unexpected detours and those moments of adaptation and adjustment that we often discover hidden opportunities and develop new skills that we never anticipated.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've explored the importance of choosing meaningful challenges, the productive way to compare ourselves, the value of honesty and finding your niche, the crucial role of physical and mental health, the transformative power of sacrifice, and the wisdom of embracing the imperfect plan. Where do we go from here? How do we take all this wisdom and actually apply it to our lives?
Yeah, it can feel a bit overwhelming, can't it? Like we've been given all these tools, but we're not sure where to start building.
It's true. Taking in this much information can feel daunting. But remember Peterson's advice about small incremental changes. He often uses the analogy of cleaning your room.
Yeah.
Start with something manageable, something you have direct control over, and build from there.
That's a great point. We don't need to overhaul our entire lives overnight. We can start by identifying one small area where we can make a positive change. Precisely. Maybe it's incorporating a short daily walk into your routine, or finally tackling that pile of paperwork you've been avoiding, or committing to having a meaningful conversation with a loved one each day. Small changes made consistently can have a ripple effect, building momentum for larger transformations.
It's like that saying, inch by inch, life's a cinch, yard by yard, life is hard.
Exactly. And as you start making those changes, as you start seeing the positive results, you'll naturally become more motivated, more confident in your ability to continue growing and evolving.
But sometimes it's hard to even know where to start. How do we identify those areas where we're holding ourselves back?
Well, Peterson talks about the importance of self-awareness, of being ruthlessly honest with ourselves about what he calls the stupid things we do that sabotage our own progress.
So it's about taking a hard look at our habits, our thought patterns, our behaviors, and asking ourselves, is this truly serving me? Is this helping me move towards the life I want to create?
Exactly. And it might be uncomfortable at first, but that honest self-reflection is crucial for growth. Once you've identified that stupid thing, you can start developing strategies for changing it. And remember, it doesn't have to be a dramatic overnight transformation.
We can use those small incremental improvements again, right? Like setting a timer for 25 minutes of focused work before checking social media, or practicing mindfulness meditation to become more aware of our thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. The key is to find what works for you. Experiment with different approaches. Be patient with yourself and celebrate those small wins along the way.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Well said. And I think that's what's so powerful about Peterson's message. He doesn't offer a quick fix or a one-size-fits-all solution. Instead, he provides a framework for understanding ourselves and the world around us. And he empowers us to take ownership of our lives and create the future we want.
It's a call to action to step up and become the best version of ourselves.
And if I can leave you with one final provocative thought from Peterson's work, it would be this. If you could identify one stupid thing you do consistently that negatively impacts your life, what small change could you make today to start fixing it?
That's a great challenge. It forces us to be honest with ourselves, to acknowledge those areas where we're getting in our own way. And it reminds us that even small changes made consistently can have a huge impact over time. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the wisdom of Jordan Peterson.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are inspired to make those small but powerful changes in your own lives. Don't forget to subscribe to Black Screen Bright Ideas for more insightful deep dives. New videos are coming soon.